Hey everybody, welcome to our training. This training is going to be about your brain on trading, your brain on trading. Tonight we're going to tonight I'm actually going to read you an article regarding pulling the trigger without hesitation. Okay, and if you want a copy of this article, let me know and I will send it to you. But I'm basically going to read this and then afterwards maybe discuss it a little bit. I will tell you up front that I am not the world's best reader. Every time I speak in the trading room and everything, it's always off the cuff. It's always ad lib, okay? And when I have to read something, it sometimes becomes a little difficult for me. So you might have to bear with me just a little bit. But this is called pulling the trigger without hesitation. Most of us have been there before. You've done your research and everything points to a sure thing. Of course, it might not happen exactly like you thought, but you know in your heart that it's going to happen. A winning trade. You set up your stop loss just in case the trade goes against you. Maybe you set it a little too tight, but you don't expect the price to come close to your stop loss, so it's good. Now you're ready to make some money. Everything starts out fine. The price ticks up as you expected. But then, without any notice, without any explanation, the price starts to turn around. And you feel yourself holding your breath as the price starts to fall a little quicker against you. It's spiraling downward towards your stop loss. Your confidence starts to fade off. You actually get physically weak. You can feel it. Your knees might even get weak. Maybe you have a little butterfly in your stomach. Frantically, you try to figure out what's going on. What was wrong with my analysis? I need some time. I need to find out if my stop loss is in a good spot. So while you're trying to figure out what's going on, you move your stop loss anyway, just to give it more room so you can figure out what's going on. A little while later, everything starts to be okay. The trade starts to oscillate back in your direction. Good. Things are good. You look over, a couple of minutes later, you check the current price. And it's like somebody slapped you in the face. Somebody punched you in the stomach. You've been stopped out. Your shoulders slump. You might even pound your desk a little bit. How could this happen? Not again. It's just not fair. You did everything right. You followed your system. You were wrong. And deep down inside, at some subconscious level, you, like almost all other traders, don't like to think of yourself as being wrong, as being incompetent. A few days pass by. You review the trade to see what happened. You feel a little bit better because the trade actually did go in your favor after you got stopped out. How many times has that happened to you? But you got stopped out. The fact of the matter is you had a losing trade. You panicked. You moved your stop loss into more danger. And you actually lost more money than you should have. You think about why you violated the rules you have established in regards to pulling the trigger. And that refers to pulling the trigger to get out of the trade, not to get into the trade, pulling the trigger to get out of a losing trade. Why did you move your stop loss? Why didn't you just take the hit and move on? You sit back and analyze yourself. Was it the fear of losing money because you place way too much emotional value on money? Was it because you were protecting your ego from the fact that you just aren't as smart as you want to be? Is that it? Not being able to pull the trigger to get out of a trade is a clear sign of problems either with the trading system or the trader. Consider the typical problems which involve a trader. As with most of us in a modern society, we are raised with the idea that losing is bad. It reflects directly on you. Losing equals shame, which equals pain. A natural response to pain is to avoid the situation that causes it, and losing trades and the pain that causes it probably is the main reason that most beginning traders return to a safe haven of passive investing like mutual funds or longer term investments, things like that. The fact is, to some, losing motivates and triggers a reaction to fight back and conquer. But for most, it's just a plain easier to deny responsibility and avoid the situation altogether, avoid the pain. To most of us frail human beings, mental and psychological pain is worse than physical pain. Another form of not pulling the trigger is when a trader has a problem entering a trade. This happens mainly because traders don't feel confident enough in their analysis. Maybe the trade doesn't exactly fit the system criteria and there is a subtle push to just jump in, which is offset by the emotional fear of not being fully informed. And this causes an emotional gridlock and stifles decisive action. As the trade nears the planned entry point, the trader feels the pull of his or her subconscious emotional fears of being wrong and losing money. The usual decision to follow this kind of wisdom is, if it doesn't feel right, then don't do it. And the trader holds off on the entry. No problem. Live to fight another day, right? You've heard me say it a lot of times. I'd rather be out of a trade wishing I was in than in a trade wishing I was out. But then the trade comes and it takes off and becomes a stellar winner. The trader is left standing at the station, at the train station, as the train pulls away. It's not as painful as actually losing money, but this being left at the station syndrome may force the trader to plunge into the next trade with reckless abandon and get hammered, which multiplies the frustration of missing the opportunity of the first trade. If this whipsaw effect happens several times, it can bring a trader to their knees. Several back-to-back losses can indeed force a beginning trader and even some experienced traders to throw in the towel, right? If you're a beginning trader and you take a bunch of losses right away, you might think, this isn't for me. And that's one reason why people jump from system to system, because they get into a system and it takes some losses and they go, this is BS. There's got to be something better out there, instead of turning it around and looking at themselves. Consider the fact that only about 20% of future traders become successful. The rest usually drop out of the trading arena altogether. These scenarios are probably the major cause for new trader disillusionment and abandonment of the exciting potential of a successful trading career. But it doesn't need to be like that. You see, most traders are not attuned to the fact that these mental and emotional aspects of trading are just as important as having a good trading system, and probably even more important. And I made a comment earlier before we started tonight that there's only about 10% of the people that come into the room, come into the trading room. Only about 10% of you are in this session working on your brain. And this session is more important than the trading session. So you can see right there where the issue is. There's been a lot of advertising dollars and promotions on trading systems and software systems, right? And those guys out there attempt to tell us that trading is easy. But really, no matter how good the system is, there will always be losing trades, period. If a trader doesn't have a good grasp of the nature of trading and the psychology needed to sustain oneself through the tough times, which will happen, trading can be a surprisingly and often disappointing experience. Being able to deal with the losing trades is what separates successful traders from ex-traders. As a matter of fact, it's been shown many times that it's not so much the system as it is the trader's ability to maintain the proper mental discipline and emotional understanding that gives the seasoned trader the ability to take the higher ground. One of the intangible benefits of learning to become a successful trader is the fact that you usually become much more honest and introspective person. You learn to honestly appraise your performance and probe your weaknesses. You learn to stay humble. You learn to stay focused. You learn to accept things that you cannot control, right? That's a hard thing too. We as humans want control. And in the trading game, once we enter a trade, we don't have control. We give up control. All of these things do more than make just successful traders. They can make for success in life. For an example, when a trader can't pull the trigger to get out of a position, it is a symptom of not fully understanding the principle, psychology behind successful trading. The objective of trading is that the trader makes more money than they lose. So when we see a trade going against us, it's important to understand it and get out of the trade. So what I'm going to do in the live trading room from here on out, one is we're going to have smaller stop losses, okay, starting tomorrow as a matter of fact. And we're really going to pay more attention to our stop loss. And it's okay if we get stopped out minus 10 ticks, minus 12 ticks. That's okay. But we're not going to take full losses at 25 ticks or more. That's not going to happen. Successful trading is a game of probabilities, and an effective system is one, it's considered a successful system when it wins 65% of the time, and that the losing margins, the losing trades, are half the size of your winning trades. Okay? So you want to win 20 ticks, so your losses need to be only 10 ticks. And if you win 65% of the time, you've got a good formula, right? On a deeper level, failure to cut losses can signify the arrogance or insecure attitude that the trader can't be wrong. And that's something that we need to understand and get over. Because we've always been taught that if you're wrong, you're flawed. So a losing trade not only causes financial pain, but it also causes psychological damage to our egos, our fragile egos. Once they lose, then we begin to doubt ourselves. And us as traders can become defensive, negative, take on self-fulfilling losing attitudes, aggressive anticipation and hope turn into a little joy and much fear, right? And it happens to everyone. We need to understand that. We need to understand it and overcome it, because it will come up again and again and again, and we need to be able to recognize. We need to be able to recognize it and move on from it. We don't want fear of trading to break up our trading career. If the internal drive to succeed can overcome the fear of being wrong and losing something of value, then good things will happen. If not, most people will cut their losses and leave the trading arena. Now, the inability to enter into a trade also demonstrates a lack of discipline to sticking with your trading system. It's either a go for the trade or it's not. If a trader system has too many poorly defined areas, it needs to be changed. You need to understand why you're trading and what you're going to do once you're in a trade. Trading should be mechanical. Either all the boxes are checked off or they're not. Simple. But many times ego comes through. It shines. And ego will make us ignore a mechanical system. We will cheat ourselves. We won't go through all the steps. You know what carpenters say? Measure twice and cut once. That's a pretty good analogy that we should be taking on as traders. Analyze twice, because you're only going to be in the trade once, right? Also, many traders may be trading money they can't afford to lose. This puts even more pressure on being right. And that's why trading capital should be assets that, if lost, won't affect the lifestyle of the trader. And not only that, a good system establishes a minimum account drawdown. It's like setting a stop loss on your trading account. And I've done a lot of studying over the last 72 hours on this. And it seems that a drawdown on your trading account in any given day should not exceed, they say, 8 to 10%. That seems a little high, but I guess it doesn't. If you have a $10,000 account and you lose $800 or $1,000, it's probably time to stop, right? But just talking about these things is not enough. Most of us aren't very good at giving ourselves a valid self-appraisal, okay? That's very hard to do. What we need to do is establish framework of not only how to trade our system, but how to manage our emotions and our mental discipline. A trader, all traders, need to establish constraints and then learn how to match feelings and thoughts to the trading process. We know that, for an example, we know that if we decide, or we're trying to decide to get out of a trade early, we're going to have a lot of emotions around that. What happens if I get out and it moves in my favor? What happens if I don't get out and it moves against me? These are all struggles we have. And we need to understand them. And once we understand them, we'll be better traders. So the question is, how does a trader not only train themselves in the discipline of trading, but also how to validate that they are indeed being honest in self-evaluation of what they're doing right or what they're doing wrong? One way is to start placing emphasis on the mental, emotional aspects of successful trading. Keep a detailed trading journal, which, among other technical things, also employs something in it called Psych. So if you keep a journal, which you should, and we'll be talking about that in the coming weeks, there should be a column called Psych. After each trade is completed, what we do is we grade ourselves. Okay, we grade ourselves on different areas, and some of the areas might be something like, did I trade this trade according to my system? Yes or no? If I didn't, why didn't I? How did I feel about the trade after I entered it? And how did I feel about the trade? I'm sorry, let me repeat that last question. How did I feel about the trade before I entered it? And how did I feel about the trade once I entered it? What did I do during the trade that was not consistent with my system? And if I did something that was not consistent, why did I do it? Was it fear? Was it greed? What would you do differently with a similar trade? Now, you don't have to answer all these questions. These are just questions to help you. How would you rate your confidence regarding the trade? At what point did you lose your confidence, or did it weaken? Analyzing these questions will help you focus on areas that need to be examined and need to be developed. Once identified, they can be overcome. Okay, but you've got to be honest with yourself. Without the awareness that there is a problem, emotions will run the show. Let's face it, your emotions will take over and they'll decide what happens. Now, depending on your level of trading, depending on your level of financial and educational commitment to becoming a successful trader, you may want to take on a mentor. Now, I might be your mentor. I might be your coach. Okay? You need somebody. It's also a very good idea to trade in a group. Face it, trading can be a very lonely game. So if you're not coming into the live trading room, come on in, come trade with us. Trading can be lonely. And having communication with other traders, I think, is very wise. Okay? And yeah, there's a monthly fee to my room, yes. Or you can get in on the elite package and not worry about monthly fees. It's an investment. Consider it a cost of doing business, because that's what it is. There is a segment of trading education that provides middle ground development. Okay? We need to determine, is trading a hobby? And I can research it a little bit, and I can listen to Steve a little bit. Or is trading something you really want to do full time for the next 20 years? And you want to be effective, you want to be profitable, you want to be good at what you do. Think about it. Think about it. Is this something you really want to do? Do you want to spend the time learning how to do it? In conclusion, having trouble pulling the trigger on either the buy or the sell side of any trade can be very symptomatic. It could show that you do have some sort of lack of confidence, either in yourself or maybe in the system itself. Learning to handle the stresses of revealing ourselves against cold, measurable standard is not easy. We're measuring ourselves against a machine, against the trading machine. And it's hard to do that because the machine is just a machine. And we are intelligent, compassionate, competitive people. To become a successful trader, we need to spend attention on the part of the game that's the most important, and that's ourselves. Okay? Most traders will tell you that your brain is about 50% responsible for your trading. I'm thinking it's closer to 75% myself. So the question is, what are you going to do to develop your brain? I suggest you watch these recordings. I suggest you read. Start by reading the book Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas, a great book on trading. If your gut response is, I really don't need that crap, then you probably really need this crap, okay? So with that being said, I don't think I did a poor job reading that. It was a little bit longer than I thought it was, probably because I was putting some emotions in with that. So let me take on some questions the best that I can. If you have a question, type it in the box. I don't know if I'm going to record all these questions or not. Again, I'm going to upload this recording and I will make the document into a PDF. I cleaned it up tonight. I cleaned it up today, as a matter of fact. And I will make it into a PDF. You're going to have to forgive me for any kind of grammar mistakes and stuff like that. But anyways, so I'm going to turn off this recording. If you're listening to this recording, thank you very much. And you can either listen to this recording again or maybe go on to the next training recording.